Hello everyone, this is part 9 of What If Naruto and Hinata trained together and a spark happened, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Stop, Hinata whispered, and the warning spread back through the winding chain of ninja. Gaara's team was at the front of the procession, with Shin Busata, and the girl's Byakugan was active. I see 4, no 5, people in the tunnel, about 250 feet ahead, she told them. The caves were dark, absorbing the illumination of their flashlights, leaving barely enough behind to see the ground under their feet. And the wind moving through the stones produced a constant low hum that made it difficult to concentrate. The guide led them by using the tuning forks to modulate the hum, and determine which path to take. Even with the Kekkei Genkai, the two Hyuga shinobi would have been lost. Lights out, the Kazekage ordered quietly. The soldiers complied, except for Shin Busata, who their leader urged forward. The True Sound team crept forward, and Gaara's team followed just beyond the edge of his light. Who is that ? A harsh voice said. The invaders moved to the edge of the cavern, while the guide stepped into the light of the patrol's lantern. Well, the sound Kunoiki holding the lamp mocked, if it isn't the little renegade. Master Kabuto did not think you would return, Busata, the tall, pale ninja, who had first spoken, added. But he did give orders to kill on sight, the third warrior in the line said, talking quietly, more to himself than to Shin or his companions. It could be fun, never taken a note before. You want to kill me, Kaya ? Shin asked the jittery, blue-haired Chunin. He speaks to me, he knows only our leader may speak to me. It's alright, Kaya, the Kunoiki told him, he's not one of us, anymore. Probably never was. The second Kunoiki, at the back of the line of sound ninja, quietly drew a trio of needle in her right hand. So you follow Kabuto now, Masaki ? Busata asked the talkative girl. I thought you hated him, for working against Orochimaru. The lavender-haired woman shrugged, times change. You haven't seen what he did to Fugoki and Yuko. Nor will he, the leader said, turning back. Kaya, have your fun. Before the soldier could attack, the sand that had been quietly pooling around his feet leapt upwards, wrapping his body. Gaara closed his fist, and the sound ninja named Kaya died. Naruto, Sakura, and Hinata were more mundane, burying a total of 7 kunai in Masaki and the pallid guard. The last 2 sound shinobi started to move, but the darkly wrapped 4th ninja was surprised when the kunoiki behind him buried her spikes in his neck. The leaf and sand tensed, but the kunoiki did not. She leapt forward, embracing the guide. Shin, thank the gods, she squeezed him tightly. I thought the worst. Everything is fine, Chiasa, he wheezed, can I please have my lungs back ? She released him, and stepped back, her green hair swaying slightly. How did you know ? Shin asked his companions. She was the only one you didn't look at, Sakura said, like you did not want to draw their attention to her. Shin, that's Naruto Uzumaki. And the Kazekage, Gaara, the girl suddenly expressed amazement as she studied his group. The leaf warriors reclaimed their blades, and Sakura dropped one that was damaged. As I said, Shin looked at her, obviously proud of himself. Everything is fine. Chiasa is one of the true sound shinobi, he told the sand and leaf shinobi, and a good friend. We had better keep moving. Gaara's normally impassive voice was somewhat touched by urgency. Stop. Shin held up his hand as they reached the entrance to the cave. There is a 100-meter gap between the opening of the cave and the forest. We will need to move quickly, to avoid being spotted. There is a safer way, Gaara said, then he called softly back, Temari. The blonde Jonin made her way to the front of the line. We need cover, he told her, I was thinking of the obscuring sands. She nodded, and began to sign. Gaara lifted his hands, and an arch of sand began to spread out from the rocky alcove towards the tree line. And they won't see that ? Naruto was incredulous. Temari is creating an illusion on the outside of the barrier. Anyone watching will see only the ground underneath the barrier. Whoa, that's pretty cool teamwork. Move, the leader of the Sunagakure told him. I do not have to spend any more chakra on this than is absolutely necessary. The invaders darted under the canopy, into the forest. Once all the others had passed, the two Sand siblings followed, dissolving the blind as they went. They continued to follow their client, and Shin Busata led them to a small shaded pond, about halfway between the cliffs they had exited, and the main stronghold of the Otogakur. As soon as they reached the planned staging area, the two medical support teams began to set up their equipment. How long do we have until that patrol is missed? Kakashi asked, joining up with Gaara's team and the two True Sound Ninja. 2 hours, Shin answered, but Chiasa shook her head. 20 minutes, she told them, to her lover's surprise. Seeing the look on Busata's face, she explained, Kabuto changed the rotation schedules. Do you know how they will get to the passage? A Sand Kunoiki asked. Naruto did not recognize her. She was in her late 30s with shoulder-length blue-black hair, and light brown eyes. Has that changed? Shin asked, and Chiasa shook her head. No, the path is still the same. Chiasa, take Kakashi's team and Nitsuki's team, Gaara instructed, point out any members of the resistance, and kill the rest. Shin, return to the village, and get your people ready. We will move in after the True Sound rebels begin the attack. But you need to start within 30 minutes. We have to strike before the returning patrol is missed. Shin nodded quickly, and ran off towards the Sound village. Chiasa watched him leave for a second, and then lead the two invading teams into the woods. Make sure you are all ready, Gaara instructed the remaining teams. If anyone needs to go to the bathroom, now would be the time, Shikamaru added sarcastically. We will head out as soon as the others return, Gaara continued as if he had not heard the remark. Wait, Naruto protested, I thought we were waiting for Shin to start the attack. We are, just not here, the Kazekage told him, there is still a good chance this is a trap. So we prepare for both possibilities. The Sound Kunoiki led the Leaf and Sand teams to a concealed, yet well-traveled path. The shinobi took positions on either side of the trail, such that they could see Chiasa. The renegade had removed and discarded her 8th note headband, replacing it with the sharp, half-note version Shin wore. While most readied shuriken or kunai, Shino and Kakashi both remained empty-handed, while Sai took out a brush and scroll, and one of the Sand ninja unwrapped out a barbed whip. While they waited, the former member of Root began to put ink to the page, preparing a feline form. They did not have to wait long. The gentle crunch of their unmasked footfalls revealed the illusion of security they felt. As the 5 replacement guards meandered into view, their informant briefly observed the warriors, and the quickly indicated the 2nd and 3rd ninja, a stocky boy of around 10, and a slender, one-armed man in his 50s, respectively. Their secret allies revealed, the liberators struck. Sai flicked out the last 2 strokes, and a pair of black and white tigers sprung to life. The first of the large cats sank its fangs into the trailing ninja's neck, and the second beast grasped his leg. The ink animals dragged the unfortunate human into the forest. The lead Sound shinobi started to move, but a whip wrapped around his wrist, and when lash was pulled back, the shards of metal flayed the soft tissue from his limb, exposing the bone underneath. The wounded man reached down with his left hand, to try and stop the blood loss. But the whip flew out again, this time surrounding his left bicep. More flesh was stripped away by the second attack. 3 more strikes, and the blood loss was too great for him to stand. Lightning began to form around Kakashi's hand, as he stepped towards the man near the end of the line. But a step ahead of him, the Sand Jonin, Nitsuki hit his target. Tendrils of blue and white cold wrapped her feet. Her first kick transformed the Sound Chunin's chest into a block of ice, and her second blow shattered that ice. His arms and head tumbled to the ground, without a torso to support them. Nitsuki looked back at Kakashi and winked. Hitaki dismissed his half-formed Chidori with a chuckle. The remaining 2 Sound ninja prepared to fight their attackers, until Chiasa leapt down from her perch. Chiasa, what? The older ninja stopped his question when he saw what was on her forehead. The boy was already removing his shield. So, it's finally time, the dismembered warrior was relieved, and a tiny bit afraid, but it may be too late. What do you mean by that ? Kiba demanded. Kabuto has moved from testing his theories on the True Sound, to upgrading those loyal to him. Some of the holdouts are going over to that butcher, for the promise of greater power. What do you mean? Testing his theories on the true sound, ? The whip user asked. We were his lab rats, he indicated his missing arm. This was a failed attempt to give me a bear's arm. I have a niece who was lucky. Kabuto was able to successfully add a second heart to her circulatory system. He subjected us to new, untested chemicals, bizarre transplants, and experimental DNA-altering jutsu. And he didn't care if they failed, just so long as he learned something new. Let's get back, the other awaiting, Kakashi insisted. An explosion in the town shocked the leaf and sand soldiers, still waiting for the ambushes to return. Gaara, Naruto yelled at their leader. Tell Kakashi and Nitsuki to catch up, Gaara told Shizune, the leader of the two teams of doctors. Move it, the Kazekage ordered, his voice harsh with uncommon worry. Coming through, Naruto shouted, cracking the sound ninja in the head with Kitsune. The scarred man fell, and would not be getting soon, if ever. A true sound kunoichi, of maybe 60 years, had been fighting two opponents, and gave him a short grateful glance. Hinata tapped the second enemy in the back with her gentle fist, giving their ally the opening to stab him in the stomach. Thank you, she said, then shouted, look out. A third man was leaping towards Naruto, but a giant hand of sand intercepted him, and crushed him against a wall. Thank you, she said again. Gaara held her gaze. Where is Kabuto Yakushi ? He demanded. He was in his lab. She shuddered slightly from his intensity. It's on the third floor of the citadel, takes up half the level. I don't know if he's still there. Let's go, the Kazekage ordered. What a drag, Shikamaru groaned, sidestepping the short, slight man attempting to stab him. He tripped the opposing ninja, and as he fell, Shikamaru casually his throat. I know, Choji agreed, pounding another sound ninja into the ground. What's with all the small fry ? Then Temari groaned, you would have had to put it that way. What ? The larger Chunin was confused, and she pointed. A true sound ninja was catapulted through the air. Target number 6, Ino confirmed, Yama. Target number 6 is called Yama, Tsunade said. She flashed a pair of blurry photos on the screen, showing a bald man, probably in his 20s or 30s, and almost 9 feet tall. He was recruited by Orochimaru 11 months ago. We don't have any record of him before that, she paused, but he quickly gained a representative as being extremely deadly, and loyal to a fault. Unfortunately, that loyalty transferred to Kabuto. He is a mystery, even to us, Shin added, he never speaks, to anyone. He might be mute. Only one true sound ninja has ever gone on a mission with him. She said he used mostly taijutsu, and he was stronger and a lot faster than she would have expected. The only ninjutsu she saw was a wind chakra shield. We have heard rumors saying that he has used other wind jutsu. We have also heard that he has been hit, but never injured, Busata told them dubiously. Then he paused, as if remembering, and one last thing. There has been a young girl sighted in his room, with similar facial features. He might have a daughter or younger sister. Which could be part of why he is so loyal to Kabuto, Temari considered aloud. Let's find someone else, Shikamaru whispered, someone we have an idea how to beat. The apathetic suggestion came too late. Yama saw them, and his already small eyes narrowed. He dug his fingers into the wall beside him, and tore out a large chunk. He threw the brickwork at them horizontally. Partial expansion jutsu, Choji's enlarged right arm knocked the projectile away, but he grimaced from the painful effort. Akamaiki, down, Temari ordered. The stocky youth fell to the dirt as their team leader swung her fan, proclaiming, Wind Scythe Jutsu. 3 blades of sharpened air passed between Ino and Shikamaru, and over Choji. They stuck Yama squarely, 2 in the chest, and 1 on his right bicep. But the cutting blades merely dimpled his skin, before continuing on to cut a trio of deep furrows in the damaged wall behind the sound strongman. So that's why he's never been injured, Ino gulped. He can't be that tough, Choji grunted. He crossed the gap, and aimed his left fist at Yama's face, greatly increasing its size and power again. But the blow did not hurt him, it didn't even budge him a tiny bit. Akamaiki kicked out, placing an expanded foot in Yama's stomach. But Kabuto's henchman didn't even exhale from the attack. Yama grabbed Choji's head, faster than the boy could dodge. He lifted the leaf shinobi with ease, and threw him at Temari like a rag doll. Choji, the eldest San sibling, helped him up, Do you think you can hold him long enough for shadow possession or mind destruction? I can try, he groaned slightly, shaking his head to work out the kink in his neck. He stepped forward, and pronounced, limited expansion jutsu. Akamaiki took another step forward, as his height, width, and depth all doubled. Nearly 12 feet tall, he was head and shoulders above the sound ninja. He grappled with Yama, but despite his increased size and strength, Choji could barely hold their enemy in place. Why the shadow possession jutsu? Shikamaru asked, as Choji was growing. Why not use the shadow strangulation jutsu? Physical attacks don't seem to be working, and the shadow possession takes less of your chakra, she explained. He still needs to breath. Fine, she sighed, do what you want. No, he winked at her, you're in charge. She tried to glare at him, but couldn't. Mind destruction jutsu, Ino stared at Yama's face through her laced fingers. But she quickly took her hands apart. It didn't work, the Chunin blonde whined. What? Why not? I don't know, Ino snapped, maybe Orochimaru put his brain in a jar somewhere. Hurry it up, Choji's voice was strained from the effort. Shadow possession jutsu, Shikamaru incanted. His shadow extended, touching the shadow around Yama's feet. But it did not connect, and Yama pushed Choji back a step. This isn't working either? Shikamaru sounded confused. Fine, shadow strangulation jutsu. The silhouette darted forward again, but once more it failed to connect with Yama's shadow. It stayed flat on the ground, until Shikamaru ended the technique. Choji could no longer hold Yama, and was thrown back. He hit a building, and shrunk back to normal size. Is this guy immune to all our jutsu? Ino sounded worried. No way, Choji protested. Shikamaru leapt back, and the crouched down. He placed his fingertips together, forming a sort of inverted cage, and then he closed his eyes. You better think of something, Shika, Temari ordered, rolled forward, and stabbing the end of her fan into Yama's stomach. Let's try to buy him some time, the Sand Jonin instructed. Nothing is working, Shikamaru thought, but why? Temari, can I get a breeze? Ino drew out a small pouch. Physical attacks are one thing, he considered. The Sand Kunoiki waved her fan, and Leaf Kunoiki dumped out the set of paper bombs. Ino's attack didn't work, which means there's no mind, he decided, no physical injury and no mind could mean a puppet. But Choji didn't say he felt strange to the touch. The talismans that struck Yama clung to him, while the rest remained on the ground around him. And I couldn't connect with his shadow. That shouldn't matter if it's real or a puppet. Try this, Ino Blizzard Jutsu. Ino tossed a kunai wrapped with her last paper bomb. The explosion set off the other bombs, tearing up the street around Yama. Why wouldn't the shadow possession jutsu work? He pondered. Yama emerged from the barrage, unscathed. Unless his shadow isn't real either, he had a revelation, some sort of genjutsu? That would explain a lot. Let's try it. The Nara Chunin placed his hands together, and said, release. Shikamaru's face reflected confusion as the illusion was dispelled. Noticing his action, and his reaction, his three teammates also counted the mirage. In the place where Yama had stood, there was instead a young girl, no more than 6 years of age. She was floating in the middle of a translucent, human-shaped bubble of wind chakra. The girl was wearing shinobi garb, but did not appear to have a headband. That's why nothing hurt him, Choji realized, there was nothing to hurt. The child was surprised and frightened, when they started to look at her. Her projection of hardened air began to lash out more aggressively than before. Ino, stop her, Temari commanded. Yamanaka placed intertwined her fingers again. Mind transfer jutsu. In the physical plane, Ino had barely been able to see the girl through the translucent shell. In her mind, the girl wore a simple slip dress, faded and stained, and no shoes. The Leaf Kunoiki could see that the girl did share the face of her illusion. The girl's hair was black and gray, and thickly layer, almost like feathers. The domain of her mind was mostly empty, but a lone hawk circled overhead. Who are you? The girl asked. My name is Ino Yamanaka, the Chunin kneeled, so she was on eye level with the girl, and what's your name? Yori. The child was not reassured by Ino's words or actions, of the Noki clan. Are you going to kill me? Question mark. What question mark? Though she had to concede it was a fair question, Ino was nevertheless shocked by the girl's directness. I don't want to kill you, Ino sidestepped the question. But Orochidono said the leaf people would try to kill me, like the rest of my family, Yori said quickly, and you are fighting me. Well, Ino thought about it. The girl's mentioning of Orochimaru was troublesome, but the Kunoichi had to gain her trust. We thought we were fighting Yama, a mean old man. And you did attack us first. Yeah, Yori considered that, but Orochidono said the leaf people know my secret. He said that anyone who knows my secret would want to kill me. That's why he showed me how to make Yama. So I can stop the people who know about me. I'm sorry, Yori, but I don't know who you are, or what your secret is, the blonde told her earnestly. Then a thought occurred to her. Did a lot of people find out about your secret, Yori? Question mark. Aha, she nodded, warming slightly, but when they did, Orochidono would find them, and tell me where they were. And then you killed them? Question mark. No. The girl seemed a little frightened. Rock-chan did it for me. The girl suddenly froze, looking scared of Ino again. I wasn't supposed to tell you that. Ino could feel the girl trying to take control of her body again, and gently rebuked her. Ino, what's going on? Question mark, Shikamaru demanded, as the wind making up Yama's form started to stir. Hold on, she made the girl's tiny voice shout, I'm talking to Yori. Is that the girl's name? Temari asked. Yes, Yori of the Noki clan. Why does that sound familiar? Question mark, the sand Kunoichi pondered. Yori, what do you mean? Rock-chan did it for you? Question mark, Ino was thinking of her encounter in Sakura's mind, 3 years prior. I would fight them, but if I had to finish them, I would let Rock-chan do it. Who is Rock-chan? Question mark, the leaf shinobi was confused. You really don't know my secret, the girl sounded surprised, looking up. Ino followed her gaze up to the raptor, now descending slowly. Rock-chan? Question mark, Choji repeated, and Ino realized she had spoken out loud as well. Ino, be careful, Temari suddenly yelled, I know where I've heard that name before. The Noki clan lived on the border of the land of wind and the land of birds. To protect the land of birds, centuries again, they sealed away a demon, the Shadow Rock. It is said the rock was less powerful than any of the Bayou, but was so huge that all 9-tailed beasts could rest on its back without touching. You don't say, Ino commented blandly as the circling hawk grew larger and larger in the girl's mind. The rock landed, and the weight of its chakra forced Yamanaka out of Yori's mind. Her head lifted, and the child's dark brown eyes began to glow from within. I should thank you, the girl's voice was now tainted by an odd screeching. The wind body around her grew larger, until it was just over 10 feet tall. You interfered with her mind, giving me a chance to take total control, the demon said. For 208 years, I have been passed from mother to daughter, waiting for a chance to break free. But I'm not really the thanking type, so I'll just kill you. You knew, didn't you? Question mark, Shikamaru asked, that Orochimaru was just using her? Question mark. Of course, the monster snorted, we made a deal. He taught the girl how to release me, and I killed for him. You see, with each generation the Noki clan daughters grew stronger, as did the seal. I never could have broken out without the serpent's aid. But now I will absorb the girl's body and power, becoming stronger than ever. Look at me, being silent so long has made me chatty, the possessed girl chuckled, time for you to die. The fist of Yama punched out, and in a cruel mockery, the translucent fist expanded. The imitation partial expansion jutsu struck Choji, hurtling him through the outer wall of a house. Inside the domicile, Choji tried to pull himself from the table he had landed in, but failed. Shadow possession jutsu. Now that the lazy genius could see the girl's real shadow, he was able to connect with it. The stolen body froze in place, but the limbs of the wind form did not. Fool, I control the wind chakra directly with my mind. I don't need to use my body to attack you with it. Just like Gaara with the sand, Temari added, leaping in front of Shikamaru to block an air kick with her fan. Shika, strangle her, their squad leader directed. You want me to kill a kid? Question mark. It's our only option, she yelled sadly, nothing else the four of us can do will get through that barrier. I can go back into her mind, Ino groaned, finally recovering from her ejection, try to break the demon's hold on her. Do you think you can ? Temari asked, catching another punch with her weapon. The blow still knocked her back. Choji finally regained his feet. No way, her enlarging paramour protested, clutching his left side, it's too dangerous. We have two choices here, the San siblings snapped back, Ino attacks their mind, or Shikamaru kills Yori's body. I don't want Ino to get hurt, but Yori is just a kid. She's not Gaara, Shikamaru said gently, skipping back out of range. The girl's body jumped back in mirror action, and the demon's attack missed. No, she said angrily, Gaara started out a monster, and Naruto redeemed him. This girl started out innocent, and we just completed Orochimaru's process of turning her into a monster. I'm not suggesting Ino sacrifice herself needlessly, their leader added more gently, but she can go back in, and if it is too gnarly, escape and we go back to the shadow strangulation. Okay ? Shikamaru shrugged, sounds good to me. Choji looked back and forth from Temari to Ino, and then lowered his head in agreement. Good, we'll have to keep Ino's body safe. Akamaiki nodded, and expanded his whole body again. He stopped an attack on Shikamaru, so the shadow possession could continue to hold Yori steady for Ino. He absorbed 2 strong blows, grimacing in pain, but not backing down. Mind transfer jutsu. Ino saw the form of a hawk, so large its wings would have covered the entire Konohagakure. Its fierce green eyes focused on her, and somehow, its beak grinned viciously. Ino found herself back in her own body, staring at the same grin on the face of Yori. No you don't, she growled, mind transfer jutsu. She struck the monster's psyche again, but this time she was able to force her way through. Inside the girl's mental plane had changed. The smooth, featureless ground was now rocky, and uneven. The giant avian dominated the landscape. Yori, Ino whispered loudly, trying to find the girl. The kunoichi heard a restrained cry, and hurried towards it. She realized she was running towards the rock, but did not slow. She found the girl, pinned under the demon's talon, one of its claws tearing all the way through her left leg. Yori, are you alright ? Ino, I tried to stop Rock Char. No, the shadow rock, she whimpered, but he was stronger than before. He hurt me. The girl looked down at her leg. What was leaking from the wound was not blood, but memories, spirit, the girl's very soul. Ino did not know how to heal the wound. Maybe if they could stop the monster, Yori's mind could restore itself. Yori, how do I stop it ? Yamanaka asked gently, how do I stop the shadow rock ? The seal is on his forehead. If I touch it, he will be trapped again. So I just have to get up to its head. Ino struggled to keep her annoyance from showing. No problem. Not you. Yori shook her head wearily, it has to be me. The seal is mine. I have to be the one to activate it. Of course, Ino grimaced, just a little, I'll get you free, and then I'll get you up to the seal. Ino took out one of her kunai, and jabbed it into the base of the claw in Yori's leg. The rock cawed in pain, and lifted its leg to try to see what was causing its discomfort. You, its harsh voice shrieked, as it saw Ino lifting Yori, I will shred your soul and consume the scraps. Ino put the girl on her back, and dodged around to the demon's tail. It tried to spin, but its size kept it from getting close to the speedy human. This is not the real world, the monster told her, and began to reduce in size. You cannot use my size against me here, as the Noki did. Ino, Yori whispered into her neck, those people I killed, they didn't know my secret, did they ? They weren't trying to hurt me. You didn't do that, the rock did, Ino tried to comfort her. The bird was circling much faster now, and she was finding it hard to stay behind the avian. I trusted Orochi Dono, she denied Ino's claim, I attacked those people, and I let the rock out. If you feel that way, take responsibility, Yamanaka prompted, help me stop the rock, and then we can talk about how you can make it up to all those people. Okay, the injured child tried to sound determined. Hold on tight, Ino instructed, and she jumped onto the raptor's back. She started towards the creature's neck, but the demon hopped, flapping its wings and rolling to the side. Without any sort hold, the kunoichi was forced to jump clear. The rock flew higher, and then dove at them. With the extra weight, Yamanaka found it harder to avoid the attack, but she managed. The teen shifted the child, and drew a kunai again. When the shrunken rock strafed him again, Ino blocked its beak with her blade, but was knocked down by the claws. She twisted as she fell, so she hit the ground on her side, instead of landing on Yori. The rock's head darted towards Ino, its razor-sharp beak wide open. Before it hit, Yori grabbed Ino's spiritual kunai, and pushed off with her good leg, stabbing the avian in the neck. The spirit swung its bill back, cleaving into Yori's neck. No! Ino scrambled up, but she was too late. The rock tore out Yori's heart. It tilted its head back, and swallowed the girl's core. Next, the demon crowed in triumph, but the mentalist vanished from his mind. Darit, Shikamaru, Ino was already crying as she opened her eyes. Ino, what happened? Temari asked, worried. That monster, it killed Yori. It destroyed her soul. You have to kill it quickly, before it finishes taking over her body. The normally apathetic genius looked upset. He released his controlling jutsu, and quickly signed the more powerful attack technique. His shadow wrapped around the girl's body, crushing her chest and neck. Ino, stop! The girl's eyes returned to normal, as did her voice. She looked at the leaf kunoiki, pleading. You don't fool me, Ino hissed, I saw what you did to Yori. Fine, the glow returned, but it was lessened, and the stolen body coughed, but I'm not going alone. Its airy arms extended, grabbing Choji by the shoulders. Before they could wonder what it had planned, Akamaki began to gasp, as if he could not breath. My breath for his, the demon croaked. Ino surged to her feet, and stumbled over to Choji. She began to beat on the wind limbs, but to no effect. Temari joined her, slashing with her fan and her wind jutsu. The stolen body began to shudder, from the demon's effort to resist the silhouette throttling it. But in the end, Yori's body was not strong enough. With one final surge, Nara snapped the girl's neck. Instantly the hardened chakra dissipated, and Choji and Yori both fell to the ground. Always suspicious, Shikamaru checked to make sure their enemy was dead. He has a pulse. Ino quickly put her medical training to work on Choji, but he's not breathing. She tilted his head back, and pinched his nose. She put her lips to his, and pushed air into his lungs. And again. Then a third time. Come on, Choji, breath, she pleaded, hitting him lightly on the chest. She placed her lips to his for the fourth round, but halfway through her breath, she felt a return pressure. Choji coughed, and started to take in air on his own again. He sat up slowly, and Ino threw her arms around him. This really isn't the time for that, Choji forced out, I'm trying to catch my breath. Idiot, she loosened her grip slightly but did not let go. Instead, she helped him to stand. Her relief was dulled, when Shikamaru waked over, carrying Yori's body. She looked so small, in his arms. Is that the fate of all Jinchuriki? Temari asked quietly. Shikamaru looked at her sharply. She caught his gaze, and took control of her emotions. Ino, take Choji back to the medics. And Yori too, the Jonin ordered, Shikamaru and I will continue to assist the true sound. I can stand, Choji told her. Ino disengaged, and took the girl's remains. With a nod and a look of thanks to Temari, she began to skulk back out of the Otogakur, alongside her injured teammate. Shikamaru and Temari turned, and headed deeper into the hidden village. They headed for the reinforced tower in the center of the village, occasionally intervening in battles between Shin's forces and Kabuto's warriors. Each time, Gaara asked their allies, or surviving enemies, about Kabuto's whereabouts. But no one had seen the new leader of the hidden sound village. So they kept on their path, until they reached the fortress. The huge steel doors were closed tight. Sakura, though Gaara only said her name, the instruction was obvious. The pink-haired kunoiki stepped forward, and with a single blow, punched one of the reinforced barriers in. The door flew a short distance, before striking a column and spiraling into the wall. A handful of sound shinobi, standing on the other side of the portal, readied weapons. This is where we split up, Kakashi told Natsuki and Chiasa. After the hearing explosion, instead of returning to the staging point, at Hitaki's order they went directly into the village. The Sand Team and True Sound Team each split off, heading in different directions. Where to now, Kakashi-sensei ? Shino asked quietly. No clue, the Jonin sounded unperturbed. He looked over the teenagers, and added, let's look for some pockets of battle, and see if we can find one of the targets. Sai sighed, and Kakashi's face turned serious in response. Kiba, Akamaru, see if you can smell anything, he directed. Shino, dispatch your scouts. We'll head towards the village core for now. The 4 shinobi started to move north, towards the open square near the middle of the town. But before they could reach top speed, Akamaru dug in his claws to quickly stop. The humans all followed suit. What is it? Sai asked impatiently. Does he need to go to the bathroom? The ninja hound growled at him, and then yipped at Kiba. He says he smells something thick and dangerous. That way, he pointed down an ally heading east. As they stalled, beetles flew in from all directions. I also sense something in that direction, the insect master informed them, an odd chakra signature. I suppose, the copy ninja conceded, that's as good a direction as any. Sai snorted, but followed nevertheless. A theater? Sai was surprised, and incredulous. But no more so than the other 3 humans. Are you sure? Kiba asked his dog. Akamaru barked firmly. Kakashi grasped the ornate handle, and pulled the door open. A strong smell of perfume wafted from the box office. The Jonin swept his hand, and the 3 chunin slunk inside. The first thing they noticed was a fallen true sound kunoichi. Shino knelt down, and examined her. She is alive, he said simply, she appears to have been drugged. Looks like Akamaru was right, Kiba needled Sai. I never said he was not, the former Anbu agent was not roused, I merely think it is foolish to follow a lesser beast. Kakashi and Shino both caught Kiba before he could lunge at Sai. Not exactly the crowd to say that around, Kakashi advised. Sai nodded, still not provoked. The 4 men moved to the inner doors, preparing to enter the auditorium. Inside, they could hear music, and lyrical voices. Kiba signaled for Akamaru to back away, and Shino silently opened the door a crack. The intoxicating scent grew more powerful, and Kakashi peeked through the gap. I see 2 men with true sound headbands, in the back row, he told his team, they look like they are hypnotized. Why do you think that? Kiba whispered. Both are just staring at the stage. And one of them is drooling. Aburame pulled the door open a little further, and Hitaki shifted his view. 3 more, he added, the same as the first 2. But what are they looking at? Sai probed insistently. Hold on a second, Kakashi shot back. He took a small mirror from his pocket, and extended it to the opening. But when he looked into the room, he found he was staring right into the face of a beautiful young woman. Like what you see? She asked, both amused and suggestive. He scrambled back in surprise, drawing a kunai. The kunoichi pushed the door wide, and sauntered through. Her outfit amounted little more than a translucent armored ribbon, wrapped multiple times around her not insubstantial then once down her belly, and again repeatedly wound around her hips. Target 4, Sai observed her cautiously, Ika-kun. But where is the other one? Target 4 is a bit of a misnomer, Tsunade explained, as the target is 2 individuals. The image appeared, and a number of the shinobi vocalized surprise or approval. Ika and Amy-kun are identical twins, Shin explained, though Amy swapped her hair and eye color so they can be told apart. Ika has the green hair and blue eyes, Amy the blue hair and green eyes. As you might suspect, their specialty is seduction, using ninjutsu and genjutsu to enhance their own natural talents. I'll bet, one of the sand ninja shouted. Both of the cage glared at him, in their respective ways. The chunin blanched under the scrutiny. They never go on missions with anyone else, but they have been known to practice on the men of the hidden sound. No one ever is able to recall any specific jutsu, but no one ever complains, either. My sister is inside, the seductress simpered, do you want to see her? The scent was becoming deeper, more layered, but not unpleasantly so. The leaf warriors were finding it hard to concentrate. Put that nasty thing away, she grabbed Kakashi's arm, I'm not armed. The jonin complied, sliding the weapon back into his belt pouch. Come inside, watch the show, Kun urged. Their eyes going blank, the 4 men followed her into the theater. I don't know, sister, the blue-haired vixen sounded dubious, Kabuto-senpai only wanted true sound shinobi. The men of the Konohagakure had been seated in the front row, and watched, mesmerized, as their captors debated on the stage. But he didn't say anything about Leaf Ninja, one way or another, the blue-eyed beauty argued, he might not have known they were coming. Maybe, Amy conceded, but I would feel safer with just the rebels. You do know who that is, don't you? Aika argued, Kakashi Hatake. With Sasuke Kohai gone, this might be Kabuto-senpai's last chance to study the Sharingan. And a transplanted one, no less. Think of what he will do to us if we give him the copy ninja. Amy shuddered in anticipation. Then she nodded. Fine, let's kill the other three, and keep Kakashi. The green-haired vixen pouted, it seems like such a waste. 3 strapping young men. The green-eyed woman pondered that, and her eyes dipped towards the laps of the leaf chunin. I suppose we could see what they have to offer, first, Amy decided, with a lecherous look. I think that will be enough, a soft voice said evenly. Shino stood, not taking his eyes off the sisters. How? Amy was amazed. How did you break free? Aika was less surprised, but more concerned. Shino held up his hand, showing the insects crawling between his digits. Both of the kunoiki looked mildly repulsed. Once I was entranced by your perfume, it took my friends only a few seconds to adapt and begin filtering it, he offered. After that, I pretended in order to find out what you were doing with these men. Well, you never had me fooled for a second, Kiba boasted. Those cheap, artificial pheromones could never fool a nose like this. I was just following Shino and Kakashi's lead. And you ? The green-haired, blue-eyed enchantress asked Sai pointedly. The artist started. He has the emotional range of dried sponge cake, Kiba interrupted. He wouldn't know Yule attraction or romantic interest if they stabbed him through the heart with a kunai. Sai looked mildly annoyed, but let the comment pass. Ready Kakashi-sensei ? Kiba asked. When the Jonin didn't answer, the ladies smirked and the other 3 members of his team turned to look at him. Kakashi was still staring at the sound ninja in rapture. A darker spot appeared on the left side of his mask, wet at the corner of his mouth. Geez, Naruto said he was a pervert, but this ? Kiba commented. We will just have to handle them ourselves, Shino told them. Sai snorted, and took out his scroll and paint. Kiba whistled, and Akamaru burst into the room, tearing the doors off their hinges. Bug began to swarm around Shino, and he leapt lightly onto the stage. It's still 4-on-2, Kiba told them, as he and Akamaru joined Shino, and we already beat your main weapon. Silly boy, Amy slid swiftly behind him, stabbing towards his neck with a needle. That little bit of pheromone genjutsu was hardly our best technique. A black and white eagle nearly struck her, but she slid out of the way, blurring slightly as she did. Though Sai's attack missed, it had the intended effect of saving Kiba. See, sister, Aika said as her wind jutsu swept Shino's beetles away from her, you wanted to destroy such a wonderful painter. It's not like we can keep him, Amy countered, not now that he's awake. I suppose not, she moped slightly. Abarame's chakra caused the bugs to link limbs like chain, overcoming the air current scattering them. Before they could connect with the lecherous beauty, she sidestepped, her form becoming soft around the edges. Hall of Echoes Jutsu, Amy completed her hand signs while ducking under Akamaru's paw. The ninja hound dropped to the ground from the painful sound in his ears, as did his master. Release, Kiba attempted to cancel the genjutsu, and touched Akamaru to free him too. But the spell was not completely disrupted, an annoying buzz remained. My genjutsu are highly resistant to such weak techniques, she taunted, when he tugged on his earlobe to try and clear his head. Well, Inuzuka grimaced, if I take you out, your technique goes with you. Akamaru. The large dog barked once, and moved closer. Paired transformation, canine sapiens jutsu. Each of the partners transformed, Akamaru's muzzle flattened, and his forelegs became arms. Kiba sprouted fur and hunched forward, his nails becoming claws and his teeth lengthening. Akamaru dove forward, nearly clipping her with his claws. But the sharpened nail passed through her ill-defined edge. Water style, bubble burst jutsu, the kunoiki exploded a sphere of water between herself and the 2 were dogs, and both were thrown painfully back. High-level ninjutsu and genjutsu ? Sai was skeptical, how powerful are these 2 ? The former Anbu member sent wolves to attack both siblings, but the sister fighting Shino broke away long enough to bury a single needle in the skull of each ink beast, destroying them. Aberame tried to take advantage of the distraction, but once again, the attack just barely missed her. She prepared to strike back, but was interrupted. So that's the trick, Kakashi Hatake said, stretching as he stood languidly. The 5 fighters all paused to look at him. You see, ever since Shin told us you altered your appearances to look different, he continued, walking slowly up to the stage, I've been wondering why. After all, it would be to your advantage, if your opponents couldn't be sure which sister they were fighting. Unless, he hopped lightly up on the stage, the idea was for your enemies to think they know who they are fighting. Each of the 3 of you mastered a different skill set. Then in battle, you substitute for one another, switching your hair and eye color. That way the twins appear impossible to hit, and masters of a large variety of jutsu. Plus, whichever of you is hiding maintains your pheromone jutsu, to keep your opponents distracted. 3 ? Shino asked what the other 2 chunin were thinking. Yup. 3, Kakashi nodded. 1. He pointed to Aika. 2. The leaf jonin indicated Amy. 3. He quickly turned, and flung a kunai into the balcony. 2 needles emerged from empty air, knocking the blade off course. The genjutsu vanished, and a 3rd sister was revealed, with blue hair and eyes, but otherwise the same as the 2 on stage. You were never really under our control, were you? Isa-kun asked, looking down on him with anger. Sorry, Kakashi sounded sincere, you're all pretty enough, but you're not really my type. My tastes go for more slender, and a darker hair color. We can do that too, Aika offered. It's too late for that, sister, Amy shouted. Kiba, the one on the balcony, is the weapons master. Shino, Green Eyes, uses most of the genjutsu. Sai, Green Hair, is the ninjutsu expert. Kakashi's words were both warning and direction. Keep your eyes open so they don't switch on you again. What are you going to do? Kiba growled as he and Akamaru leapt off the stage, on the backs of the 2nd row of seats. I've double duty, clean up and rescue. The copy ninja lifted his hands, and formed a chidori around each. Keeping his palms flat and parallel, he darted up the aisle, across the back row, and then returned to the stage. He repeated the circuit, and this time the air was noticeably fresher. You're using a killing technique to clean the air. Sai's tone was dismissive, even as he unleashed a pair of attackers on Amy. This time, his illustrated animations were a double mockery. Pin-up versions Sakura and Ino struck at the seductress. It's called electrostatic air purification. Now that they aren't maintaining the perfume levels, I can get rid of it, the teacher explained, and you'll find many deadly techniques have alternate uses. Just ask Naruto about the Rasengan sometime. The 2 canine hybrids jumped up to the balcony, surrounding her. Whenever the 3rd sister attempted to attack one of them, the other would stalk closer. Illusion art? Reflect me jutsu, Aika yelled, and to Shino's surprise every other person in the room took on her appearance. But he did not blink, did not give her a chance to switch with any of her duplicates. Ninja art? Compound eyes jutsu, Shino countered, connecting with the bugs perched on his shoulders, to enhance his vision. He sent out a small swarm, his tiny allies unaffected by the mirage. Unable to substitute, the enchantress was not able to avoid all of the insects, and they began to consume her chakra supply. The true sound ninja captives began to recover from their fascination. Amy was struck hard by the black and white painting of Sakura, and the copy of Ino caught her arms, spreading ink onto her skin as she pinned the sound kunoiki. Without their swapping trick, the sisters realized they were ill-prepared for a direct battle. I surrender. Isa pragmatically dropped her needles and put up her hands. Isa, Aika yelled at her sibling this time. In another minute it will go from the 3 of us against the 5 of them, to the 3 of us against the 15 of them, the oldest sister responded, and Kabuto-senpai isn't worth dying for. He's not even worth risking a scar for. You are far too enamored with him for our own good, Aika. Amy stayed out of the argument, but subtly stopped resisting Sai's creations. One of the rebel captives groaned, and the youngest triplet's resolve weakened. She raised her hands in submission too, and could not hide her relief when the beetles on her skin withdrew. The last of the sound guards finished, Team Gaara headed up to the 2nd floor. The next level was Orochimaru's audience chamber. It was a large empty room, lined with columns, a throne in the center 2/3 of the way back, and a set of 3 doors on the opposite end. The edges of the room were dark, and the 4 invading shinobi were not alone. This is mildly unexpected, Kabuto Yakushi announced, walking calmly into the light. I figured Shin Busata was up to something, but I didn't expect him to have the guts, or the resources, to hire a group and leaf and sand ninja to assassinate me. And my old friends Gaara and Naruto Uzumaki no less. He looked away, and as if considering something, but still, 4-on-1 doesn't seem exactly fair. Goki, Yuko, can you assist me? ? Of course, master, an oddly gentle, feminine voice emerged from the shadows. 2 more sound shinobi moved forward enough that their outlines could be seen, but not their precise features. The woman who had spoken was taller than Hinata, Sakura, or Gaara, though not as tall as Naruto. She had a medium build, but the shape of her right arm was disparately large. Her male companion was short and compact. Though under 5 feet tall, he looked to be made of 300 pounds of solid muscle. His head was completely devoid of hair, not even the hint of eyebrows or lashes. I will deal with Kabuto. Gaara's voice was oddly touched. The 3 of you eliminate his followers. That is fine by me, Kabuto smirked. Goki, Yuko, you may kill Sakura Haruno, but I want Naruto Uzumaki and Hinata Hyuga alive. Kabuto darted back behind the throne, as Gaara tried, and failed, to get behind the rogue doctor. The 2 lieutenants ran forward, to prevent the Leaf Warriors from interfering. What do you want with Naruto and Hinata? Gaara asked menacingly, sending 3 darts of dust after Kabuto. Isn't it obvious? The answer was mocking, as he nimbly dodged the sand shuriken. I will examine Hinata's DNA, dissect one of her still living eyes, and then extract her ovum to create my own army of Byakugan soldiers. As for Naruto, he rolled forward, trying to cut the Kazekage with his chakra scalpel, though I am interested in testing the limits of his regeneration, and attempting to duplicate it. His greatest value is as a bargaining chip with the Akatsuki. You will have to survive that long first, the sand leader countered, his voice colder and harder than usual. His sand lashed out at Kabuto like a whip. Naruto Uzumaki, contrary to the blonde genin's expectation, densely built shinobi's voice was of medium tone, and his accent was clean and educated. Leaf Village ninja, genin rank. Age 15. Orphan son of Yukihana Uzumaki, father unknown. Preferred techniques: low to mid-level taijutsu, multi-shadow clone jutsu, Rasengan. Possesses advanced regenerative ability and extremely high chakra level, due to the 9-tailed fox demon sealed in his body. He separated the boy from his female teammates. Yeah, so what's your story? Naruto was unnerved by the frank and knowledgeable dissertation. I see no wisdom in sharing that with you at this time. Your level of emotion discomfort is currently adequate. Well, then how about I make your level of physical discomfort match? Naruto drew Kitsune, and jumped, attempting to strike his opponent over the head. Ah yes, Goki deflected the weapon with his forearm. Recent intelligence indicated training with the staff blade by Iruka Yumino and Anko Mitarashi. Your weapon has not been reported. I will need to make note of it. Faster than Naruto expected for his size and build, Goki moved beside him, and pulled Kitsune from his grip. What exquisite craftsmanship, the sound soldier commented, looking over the implement, Konoha leaf and Kyubi motifs, highly dense construction. He trailed off as Naruto summoned the weapon back to his hand. The weapon summoning jutsu intrinsically built into the weapon, straightforward enough, but not easy to implement, and undeniably useful. The academic sounded impressed. He stepped again, and before Naruto saw what was happening, he was knocked to the ground. As the light finally fell on Yuko, Sakura and Hinata could finally see why her right arm looked deformed. Instead of one right arm, she had 3 limbs, each slightly different, extending from her shoulder. Initially the triplicate arms were held tightly together, but as she advanced, they separated. What are you? Sakura asked rudely. Kabuto-sama has improved my original design, she answered, her soft voice full of pride. Using knowledge gleaned from his autopsy of Kidomaru, he was able to augment my nervous and skeletal structure to support 2 additional limbs. It goes perfectly with one of the advanced Konohagakure techniques Orochimaru taught me. Yuko drew shuriken from her pouch, holding 8 in each of her right hands. She flicked her wrists in unison, while also intoning, shuriken shadow clone jutsu. Each of the 24 throwing blades split into 5, and Sakura went pale as the cloud of knives bore down on them. But Hinata calmly took a half step in front of her rival. Chakra began to radiate out from the Hyuga heiress, and a ninjutsu seal appeared on the floor around her. Byakugan art, protection of the 8 trigrams, 128 palms, she announced. Moving with immense speed and precision, Hinata sent out a cutting edge of chakra to each of the incoming shuriken. The real blades were sliced in half and fell away, while the clone blades exploded. Not a single one of Yuko's weapons came within 10 feet of either leaf kunoiki. I guess it doesn't fit quite that well after all, Sakura taunted, but Hinata just watched their opponent warily. A wave of sand crashed over Kabuto, but the new leader of the hidden sound carved through it with a wind-enhanced chakra scalpel. He drove through the gap, stabbing at the Kazekage. Gaara sent up more silicate to block. Yakushi shifted his surgical blade from air chakra to fire chakra. Though the barrier stopped the attack, the heat fused the sand into glass. The lumps of crystal crashed to the ground, now outside Gaara's control. The traitorous doctor sliced again, and this time the intercepting dust aimed for his wrist. He pulled back before his hand was caught, or worse. I must say, I am less than impressed. Kabuto's tone was even, though his intent was obviously mocking. He cut again, this time using lightning to disrupt the wall of sand. You aren't half the man you once were, he continued, then he smirked, or is it that you are more of a man than you were before? The sand shinobi did not respond, but a lance of sand shot out, and his enemy dodged enough to only take a light cut on the arm. But the particles infiltrated the wound, and when the former Jinchuriki ripped them back free, numerous small holes perforated Kabuto's skin. The medical ninja retreated long enough to close the wounds on his arm. The Kazekage followed closely, and before the healing jutsu had fully taken effect, he was sidestepping another spear of sand. I might have been underestimating you, Kabuto conceded. Or I was overestimating you, the reformed villain suggested. The sand spread out further, starting to surround Kabuto. Naruto rolled forward, regaining his feet facing Goki once more. You're fast, the boy noted. Faster than you know, the bald shinobi was instantly beside him. When Naruto tried to turn to face him, Kabuto's second moved behind the leaf shinobi again. Naruto continued his rotation, swinging Kitsune at full extension. But even with his extended reach, he was unable to hit his enemy. Your weapon is too slow, Goki instructed him, and from my research, your Rasengan will be much the same. Okay, Naruto growled, sheathing his staff blade, try this. He signed quickly, Doton, Stone Claw's Jutsu. 4 rocky hands grasped for the Sound Warrior, but he evaded easily. He disappeared, and reappeared behind Naruto again. He planted his foot in the teen's back, and pushed him to the ground, again. Uzumaki stood quickly, eyeing his opponent. Well, then, how about my favorite multi-shadow clone jutsu? A dozen copies surrounded Kabuto's follower. Half jumped, while the other 6 charged on the ground. Goki quickly grabbed one of the grounded clones, and threw him into 2 of the airborne duplicates. All 3 exploded. Before the others could recover, the sound shinobi had punched 4 of them in the throat, destroying the fragile facsimiles. The last 5 tried to attack him in unison, but he easily exited their circle, destroying 2 in the process. The 3 remaining clones tried to regroup, but Goki flashed past them faster than they could follow, and Naruto's jutsu ended. The real Uzumaki had just finished a Cyclone Spike's jutsu, but the intellectual slid in between them easily. How are you so fast? Naruto tried to move away as Goki closed in again, but he could not avoid Kabuto's minion. Young Kabuto upgraded me. Binary circulatory system and modified legs. So your power isn't even real, Naruto mocked. Real enough to capture you, Goki seemed annoyed by that jab. He punched Naruto in the gut, just hard enough to make the teen exhale hard. Then he was behind the leaf ninja, cutting off his breath and circulation with a sleeper hold, crushing Naruto's neck and pinning his right arm tightly against his right ear. Sakura ran straight towards Yuko, swinging. The modified kunoiki caught Sakura's right hand with all 3 of hers. Even 3 hands on 1, she was no match for Sakura's raw strength. The 4-limbed warrior kicked at the leaf ninja's ribs, but Sakura caught her foot, and hoisted her into the air. Haruno threw the unbalanced warrior, and Yuko tumbled unevenly through the air. Nevertheless, she was able to right herself just in time, and lightly landed on one of the pillars, clinging by the chakra in her feet. She took out 8 more shuriken and threw 4 each at Hinata and Sakura. Sakura jumped out of the way, but Hinata knocked him aside as she reached the base of the column and started up. The sound shinobi ran down to meet her. She fired off 2 punches, one each at Hinata's face and chest. But Hinata was able to knock both away with her left hand, sending chakra into the other woman's wrist with each blow. Yuko's hand spasmed, and she launched her left hand at Hinata's face again while she tried to recover feeling in her stunned appendages. Sakura started towards the stone support to assist. Hinata saw her coming with the Byakugan, and shook her head. No. Go help Naruto, Hinata said, I can handle her. Sakura looked, finally noticing Naruto's trouble. She nodded at her rival and changed directions. You think you can handle me? Yuko sounded dubious. Just because you blocked my opening salvos? One will crush you, capture you for Kabuto-sama. Water style, arm distension jutsu. Yuko's arms extended, her upper arms increasing in length by half, while the distance from her wrist to elbow doubled. This also served to heighten the differences in her triplicate limb. Her middle right arm was now noticeable longer than the other 2. All 4 of the enhanced kunoiki's arms lashed out at once. A knife hand to Hinata's neck, a punch to her solar plexus, another punch to her stomach, and a grab for the Byakugan uses right ankle. Hinata did not bother to block with her hands. 8 trigrams palms holy cyclone, Naruto's training partner created the large sphere of chakra. Despite her increased reach, Yuko was struck. The sound kunoiki was pushed higher, and her chakra grip on the stone dislodged. She started to fall, but 2 of her hands snagged the pillar, and she reconnected with her feet. Yuko snarled at Hinata, who again waited for her opponent. Spots were beginning to form before Naruto's eyes. He struggled to escape, but with his right arm trapped, he could not sign for any jutsu. And Goki matched him, sending any chakra to his muscles only caused the sound soldier to do the same. He felt the fox's annoyance building, but it had not yet reached the point of breaking free. Uzumaki finally remembered his kunai, and managed to extract one of the holdouts with his left hand. However, by that point he was growing weak, and his slashes at Goki's arm barely broke the strongman's skin. Suddenly, Goki grunted in pain, and his arms loosened around Naruto's neck. Even stronger hands wrapped his wrists, peeling him away from the genin. The blonde ninja gasped for breath, as Sakura hurtled the sound shinobi across the room. Thanks, Sakura, he grunted, wobbling slightly. Darn it, Naruto, what are you doing? She scolded lightly. Hey, he protested, that guy's faster than Lee, and knows all my moves. He kept getting behind me. Look out. The bald warrior darted behind Sakura, but as he swung his fist towards the back of her head, Naruto grabbed the girl's wrist, pulling her down and rolling them both a short distance away. Naruto landed on top of Sakura, but jumped back to his feet before he could notice her blush. See what I mean? He prompted. She shook off her embarrassment, and stood quickly. Yeah, back to back, then ? Naruto spun, and aligned his spine to Sakura's. Gaara was starting to run short on sand. After Kabuto had realized Gaara could not control glass, he had created a fiery scalpel in each hand, cutting away at the Kazekige's ammo. The former host of Shikaku began to mill the stone floor, but it was slowing going, and he was losing dust faster than he was creating it. He adjusted his tactics as well, carefully avoiding Yakushi's blades on both attack and defense. Maybe you should surrender now, Kabuto counseled, mockingly, without your sand, you are defenseless. Perhaps we can come to a deal, as former allies and leaders of our respective villages. Could you honestly say you had no part in the death of the fourth Kazekige? Gaara probed. Kabuto did not answer, but glanced down at his left hand briefly. I thought not. Not that it matters, the Hidden Sand Village has a contract with the True Sound, and we keep our commitments. As for me being defenseless. Gaara went through a quick series of hand seals, and then quietly projected, Wind Scythe Jutsu. A sharpened blade of air crossed the room, parallel to the floor, and aimed for Kabuto's chest. The doctor quickly raised his left arm, absorbing the blow with the back of his wrist. Gaara displayed mild surprise, when he caught a glimpse of the traitor's skin through the slice in his sleeve. Say something, already, Yuko shouted at Hinata, aggressively throwing her arms wide. The Hyuga Saiyan's silent, Byakugan-enhanced appraisal was unnerving. Stop this, Hinata finally answered, run away. Give your support to the True Sound. As if I would ever betray Master Kabuto, Yuko snorted in amusement. I was always loyal to him, even when Orochimaru was around. Kabuto is our target. If you stand with him, you will fall, Hinata prodded kindly. Don't you owe Master Kabuto your life? Hinata froze up at that, her hands dropping slightly. Yuko smirked, but before she could act, Hinata suddenly twirled around. 8 trigrams, 2 palms, she proclaimed, striking the air behind her. But instead of empty space, she struck flesh, and the Yuko who had been distracting her disappeared. 4 palms, 8 palms, 16 palms, 32 palms. At this point Yuko's second genjutsu also failed, and Hinata concluded, 64 palms. Though most of her chakra network was blocked, and she could barely stand, the half-spider kunoichi was still able to cling to the post by the chakra points in the bottom of her feet. Kabuto may have saved me, but I will not know if I owe him anything until I find out why he saved me, Hinata countered, and then added more firmly, and that does not apply to you. Cute, Yuko countered, her arms jerking oddly, but your little technique won't work on me. In order to control these arms, Master Kabuto gave specially enhanced control over my chakra network. She snapped out her left arm, and Hinata was amazed as her normal chakra flow was restored. Her technique was much more efficient than the chakra pulse. But only her chakra was fixed, the physical damage from the 8 trigrams 64 palms remained, and Yuko's movements were slowed. Despite that she charged Hinata again, and the kind-hearted leaf ninja did not have the heart to blast her with the heavenly spin or holy cyclone. Instead she simply blocked her enemy's strikes, waiting for her to give up. The sound kunoichi had other plans. Earth release, quicksand jutsu. In the midst of her attacks, Yuko was able to secret mix in hand signs, thanks to her additional limbs. The stone pillar became soft around Hinata. Thanks to the pull of the chakra on her feet, she was pulled in. The column hardened, trapping Hinata up to her knees. Afterwards, Yuko walked calmly around Hinata, smirking at her back. I know you can still see me back here, but you can't really attack or defend adequately from this angle, especially with your legs stuck. Master Kabuto can surely fulfill his desires without both of your arms. If I remove your right arm, you should be much easier to manage. Yuko darted forward, aiming for Hinata's right shoulder. Before she reached Hinata, the Hyuga heiress bent over backwards, her head nearly touching the ground, and supporting herself with her left hand. And to Yuko's unexpected horror, a sphere of pure blue chakra hovered over Hinata's left hand. Rasengan, her incantation sounded almost regretful. Her hand snaked easily past all 4 of Yuko's and she pushed the ball hard into her opponent's bone. The Rasengan shredded through her flesh and bone, before propelling her away. Yuko's body spiraled upwards, bounced off the ceiling, and then plummeted to the floor. With a sad sigh, Hinata turned the orb on the rock, starting to carefully free her legs. Naruto drew Kitsune again, and Sakura brandished a pair of kunai. The sound ninja circled them, looking for an opening. Brace yourself, Sakura whispered, and then began to sign. Doton, epicenter jutsu, the medical kunoichi dropped to one knee, and punched the stone floor, hard. The entire room shook, a circular wave of spread outwards through the rock, and Naruto barely managed to keep his feet. Darn it, Sakura, Uzumaki shouted, we're on the 2nd floor. The swell spread, and Goki retreated outside the range of the attack. As he focused on dodging the attack, Sakura threw her 2 blades at their opponent. Only one of the daggers clipped him, and just barely. He turned back towards the 2 teens, but the aftershock rolled under his feet, and he nearly tripped. He recovered before the leaf ninja could act, and rode out the 3rd, smallest wave. Suddenly, Goki smirked at Sakura. Sakura Haruno, medical specialist, apprentice of Tsunade, he rattled off, I almost forgot, I don't have to keep you alive. Kaiten, Comet Strike Jutsu. Flames surrounded his body, and he charged the kunoichi at full speed. She threw 4 more kunai at him, diverting him briefly. When he was in range, she hit his chin with backhand, burning her knuckles and knocking him away. Nifty trick, but it slows you down, she mocked. I'll take note of that, he said seriously, ending the technique and darting forward again. Naruto swept Sakura aside trying to make the speedy shinobi strike him again. But the modified ninja changed course, and was able to strike Sakura, creating a gap between her and Naruto. He pushed the genin away, and withdrew a kukri from his belt pouch. As he started to swing the curved back at the kunoiki's back, Kitsune's wind chakra edge carved into his forearm. Goki jerked his hand away before too much damage was done, and then put distance between himself and the leaf shinobi. His arms aren't as fast as his legs, Naruto told Sakura. I noticed, she agreed, but that's not all. He doesn't hit as hard as he should for that kind of muscle mass. And he hasn't attacked with his legs once. I think he is still adjusting to whatever Kabuto did to him. It was Goki's turn to be unnerved. I'm still too fast for either of you. I can wear you down, he bluffed. Not with 2 hearts, and that wound, Tsunde's apprentice countered, you'll bleed out before you can defeat us by attrition. Then I will have to kill you both. He started running again, signing as he moved. Fire style, Grand Fireball Jutsu, he circled them, blowing a cloud of fire inwards. He slowly narrowed the loop, bringing the flames ever closer. Sakura, he whispered as they moved back to back again, I think I have a way to slow this guy down, but you'll have to be ready to move. Okay, but hurry up, she pressured. Naruto nodded and put his hands together in front of his chest, his fingers spread as wide as possible. He watched Goki carefully, and when the sound ninja passed the center line between Sakura and himself, he pushed his hands out. The fire jutsu died, and Goki stumbled, as he passed through the negative chakra jutsu. He tried to start running again, but did not have the strength or the chakra to reach his previous speed. As Naruto slumped, Sakura flipped over him, driving her fist into Goki's knee. The joint crumbled with a sickening crack. The enhanced shinobi fell, rolling painfully over his broken leg. When he came to stop, he began to crawl away. But Naruto blocked his path. I didn't think someone your age would know that technique. The academic pulled himself up on one knee, facing Naruto with all the pride he could muster. Your mistake, Naruto said, knocking him out cold with an uppercut to the jaw. Then he looked over at Sakura with a forced grin. Shizune was right, he took a deep breath, stretching, that technique is draining. Anyone else would be on his butt from trying something like that, she answered. Are you alright, Naruto ? Hinata asked, running over to them. I'm fine, he told her, you know I've got energy to spare. Let's help Gaara. Who would have thought, the same hand that killed the 4th Kazekage would also kill the 5th ? The 3-leaf warrior heard Kabuto ridicule Gaara. The doctor pulled his left hand back, and the sand ninja slumped to the ground, bleeding profusely. When Yakushi realized his 2 lieutenants were done, he smirked at them. Seems like a fair trade, he commented, before turning tail and running. His 3 allies rushed to the side of their fallen leader. Sakura turned him over carefully, and immediately began treating his wounds. How is he ? Hinata asked in abundant concern. Pretty bad, Sakura answered, not as bad as. Her eyes drifted to Hinata's side, well you know. But pretty bad. We need to get him back to the medics. No, Gaara croaked, Kabuto is mine. All of you leave, I will finish him. The kunoiki exchanged looks of worried surprise, but Naruto jumped up, looking angry. No way, he forced himself not to shout at his injured comrade, you're in no shape to fight anyone. Gaara did not answer, and the blonde sparkplug continued. You dragged me away from the Chunin exams to fight Kabuto, and that's what I'm gonna do. He shifted his gaze to his female friends. You two, take Gaara back to Shizune Nisan, he instructed, I'll go after Kabuto. Naruto, you can't, Hinata started, until Sakura interrupted her. Who are you to give orders ? Haruno snapped. Then she softened, Hinata should go with you. No, he shook his head firmly, you're gonna be carrying Gaara, and keeping him stable. You'll need Hinata's eyes. Medic, scout, guy who beats up Kabuto, he pointed to each of them in turn, we each have our role to play here. They both looked ready to protest, so he added, I'll be fine. Then before they could dissuade him, he ran after the traitor, slamming the doors behind him. Come on, Sakura growled, lifting the sand leader gently, the sooner we get Gaara to safety, the sooner we can come back and teach that idiot a lesson. Hyuga nodded, smiling slightly. Both girls jogged back to the stairs leading down. That will be all for this video, be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos, goodbye.